Hello, I'm Philip from Status Pro's sales department. Today I like to introduce our brand new digital spirit level, the so-called µLevel 2. The µLevel 2 is a high precision digital spirit level which allows the user to measure inclinations up to 1 micron per meter, so very precise, mainly used for machine tools or similar activities. The µLevel 2 has a few features and advantages against its predecessor, the µLevel 1. Let's talk about them. So first of all, we want to start it. So we press the button and we will notice this little LED bar here. The LED bar allows the user to immediately detect whether the digital spirit level is like this tilted or like this. So if we wait a few seconds, we will see that it will shift. The user can configure whether if for an inclination of 1, 10 or 100 microns per meter, one LED starts to light up. The digital spirit level µLevel 2 now has a movable handling bar. This allows the user to either handle it quite comfortable and easy, or to remove it to the side if space is limited. Power supply now is done via a rechargeable battery, which some of our users already know from our laser equipment. This rechargeable battery comes with rechargers in our cases, so the user is always ready to measure. The duration, how long the user can measure with the equipment, is round about 8 hours per one full charge of the battery. The little handling bar also has a little red ring on it. This red ring allows the user to know about the orientation of the digital spirit level. If the red ring rises, then the value will go into plus direction. For the opposite, it will go into minus direction. The value itself can be seen on our LED display, which is on top of the digital spirit level. We will see this later in a more detailed view. The measurement value can be switched, or the display can be switched with a button, so that you can see it from either side. A cool feature is that now we have a second sensor in the digital spirit level, which allows us to measure the inclination in the second axis of freedom. Not that precise, but still precise enough to detect whether your measurement object has a big inclination error in your second axis, which will affect your accuracy of your measurement value in a negative way. We also use this second inclination sensor to switch the direction of our display as well. We will see this in the more detailed view as well. In our digital spirit level, we have 3 temperature sensors. One is for air, one is for the base, and one for the electronics. We check all of these values constantly and show the user a little smiley. The little smiley allows the user to easily check whether the measurement conditions are good enough for high precision measurements, or if the user has to wait a few more minutes until the condition is better or the level itself has heated up. The measurement value can be read in microns per meter, 10 microns per meter, 100 microns per meter, or of course mils per inch as well. The user can configure that on the display with our buttons as well, which we will see in the later part of the video. The digital spirit level is capable of transferring its measurement value via Bluetooth. So we can either transfer it to our remote display, which is an Android smartphone, which is part of the deliverment, where the app is already pre-installed. This app allows us to see the value, so let's say the most common application would be that you have the digital spirit levels on your machine tool. You lie underneath the machine, check the values on your display, and now you can align the machine very easy without having the need to go up, check the values on the level, go down again, realign your screws and things like that. So this makes measurement quite comfortable. We can, on the other hand, transfer the measurement value to our Windows-based software. We call it ProLine. We can use this for very accurate pitch and roll measurements, which is a thing we usually do on machine tools to check geometry of linear axes and things like that. The digital spirit level itself is usually delivered within packages. We call them µLevel 100, 200 and 300. And the differences is the amounts of µLevels in them. In the 100 we do have 1 µLevel. In the 200 and 300 it's 2 of them. Always with a remote display. And when we order the µLevel 300 we also have the Windows software. So now let's have a closer look at the remote app. And then we will continue with a closer look on our display. Okay guys, let's have a look at our remote display. So first of all, we will unlock the screen and then we are able to see our app. We will start the app by simply pressing the button, and this is our main menu now. In the main menu, we can find 4 different submenus. Let's begin with the first one. In the first submenu, we will see that here the values of our µLevels are displayed. We can already see that there is a µLevel 1 and a µLevel 2. We will now continue by connecting one µLevel. In this button for the configuration, we will press it. We can see that one of the levels is already paired. It's the level with the serial number 1055. By pressing once this button, we will now see that a connection will be established. Now we can see that there is a red line next to the button. This means that the connection is established. So we will go back to our first submenu, and now we can see that the measurement value is displayed. Right now we see 4.3 millimeters per meter in positive direction. This little symbol shows us that it is positive and not negative, because it will be the other way around if there is a negative value. By pressing the 0 button now, we can set a relative 0. The advantage by doing this is that the level itself can still be on absolute 0. So this is only an offset done in the software itself, not on the level. We will go back to the menu and we will enter the table submenu. Here now we can create our own table with either 1 or 2 values of µLevels. By pressing the measurement button, we will now create our first measurement point. This is interesting if you want to measure pitch and roll on machine tools by using this software. So now let's imagine we will move the linear axis 100 millimeter and we measure again. We will move another 100 millimeter and we will measure again. And again as an example. Now there are 5 values. We can save them, give them a name. For this instance now we just use the name which is suggested by the software. We save this and now we can connect the remote display via USB-C cable with our laptop, and we will find the CSV file under downloads, because that's where the software has the rights to save files. And then you can evaluate and analyze the measurement values in a more detailed way if you want to on your Windows device. By pressing this recycling bin button, we can clear our list and start a new measurement. By pressing back once again, we will enter our main menu again. We already saw this for the configuration. Besides to the pairing and linking of our levels, we can also configure some basic things like unit, millimeters per meter, microns per meter. We can enter a username, which you will see in your CSV file, or of course averaging parameters. By pressing back once again, we will enter main menu, and let's check for the last button. This is just for giving us information about the version of our software and of course where you can find us in the internet. One last but important information: if you want to connect the levels with any other device like your Windows PC, then please close the app and have a look at this note. Please press disconnect, because now the levels are capable of being connected to the next device. Okay guys, let's continue now with a more detailed view of the level itself. First of all, we will start the level by shortly pressing this button. The level now will start and showing some basic informations like capacity of battery, the unit, and when the next service is due. We can now see the display, and in the display we can see different information, like the little smiley here, which is not really happy at the moment. The reason due to that is you can see that the 26 degrees of Celsius is blinking. This means that we are out of the calibrated boundaries for the high precision measurement range. This is due to the fact that we are filming this video now in one of our office rooms where the AC is shut down. Here we can see the inclination in the other degree of freedom, battery capacity, the measurement value itself. In this case now it's plus 28 microns. Plus means that the side where the red ring is higher than the other side. If this side would be higher, then the measurement value would be negative. We can also see that the unit is millimeters per meter and that we have a medium averaging. With this button, we can now switch the direction of the display, which is quite comfortable because you never know from which side you want to read the display. This is our menu button. By pressing it, we can toggle through the different menus. The first menu gives us information about the 3 different temperature sensors. The first one is air temperature, second one is base temperature, and third one is from the electronics. We can also see that the temperature gradient is right now quite high. So that means that the change of temperature per time, in this case degrees of Celsius per minute, is very high. The reason behind that is that the level was just started something like a minute ago. After a while we should see smaller values here. These values are even more important than the absolute temperature. When the change of temperature is too high, then we will lose lots of accuracy, because the level itself will change its shape when the temperature changes. Like the base and the electronics and things like that, every part is affected by changing temperature. This is the reason why our smiley, like I mentioned, is not really happy right now. By pressing the menu button again, we will enter the calibration menu. In the calibration menu, we can either make an absolute calibration by pressing play and then this button. But of course, before pressing this button, we have to rotate the level 180 degrees. Or we can relative 0 by pressing play and then pressing this button without rotating the level 180 degrees. So now we have a relative 0 and could easily measure things like roll and pitch of a linear axis. Let's enter the menu again and check the other different menus. In the display menu, we can choose between on, which means the display is always on, or 2 minutes. This means after 2 minutes, without pressing any button, the display will turn off. The reason behind that is that in many cases our users work with either the smartphone or with the Windows software, and then you not necessarily need the display. So you could save some battery capacity. And the next step, we can see LED zoom. This is for the little LED bar, which we were able to see in the previous part of the video. When 10 is selected, it means that for each 10 microns per meter of change of measurement value, one LED starts to blink. In the LED zoom, we can change the sensitivity of the LED bar. So that means right now 10 is selected. So per each 10 microns per meter, one LED will start to blink. For every 1 micron per meter, one LED starts to blink. For 100, it's 100 microns per meter. This is our averaging menu or filtering. So you can imagine this as a big filter. The more values we throw into our filter, the more stable the value gets, but of course the lesser fast it reacts. Or to speak it another way, the more time it needs to react. So let's say you want to align your machine bed and you screw on your alignment feet. Then with this configuration, the level will be more stable, but will need more time to react. In this configuration, it will react quite fast, but it will not be that stable. We usually go for the middle configuration. In this menu point, we can have an influence on the temperature awareness. So right now, high is selected. That means the level itself is very sensitive when checking its temperature values, the absolute temperature, and of course the second degree of freedom inclination. In some environments, it will not be possible for you to get a happy smiley with this configuration. So then you can change it to low, so the sensitivity will not be that high. This is described more precise in the manual. In this menu, we can change the units. We can either choose between millimeters per meter, mils per inch, arc seconds, or microns per meter. By pressing it once again, we are back at millimeters per meter. For some units, we can then change the resolution as well. So as an example, right now millimeters per meter is selected. So this would be a micron per meter. This would be 1/10 of a micron per meter. And this would be 100th of a millimeter per meter. Usually, we just use microns per meter. In this menu point, you can just get information about software and hardware stand. Like you can see here, this could be interesting for support reasons. If you have a phone call with us and need support, then we might ask you about the number of your software and hardware. Same for serial number for the device and the sensor itself. By pressing this button once again, we will finish our menu and get back to our standard screen where we can see the measurement value again. Thank you very much for sharing our experience with this video, and we are looking forward to see you in the next videos.